Oh my God. I hit the wrong button and didn't fade it out again. It's super abrupt. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Talking Cardboard Live. We're figuring this out as we go along, everybody. I'm John. That's Joe. We're 100% obsessed with the hobby. No industry glaze, just real talk about ripping packs, chasing grails, trading at shows, and geeking out over cardboard. Vintage, modern, Hall of Fame prospects, whatever your PC is, we're here for it. And that kid in a candy store kind of feeling, of course. Y'all ready? Let's rip into it. This is Talking Cardboard Live, episode 11, you guys.
Go.
Episode 11. It's crazy. This is our 11th show, and if you'd like to support the show, there's many ways you can do it. You can hit the like button. You can subscribe here on YouTube, or if you'd like to become a patron on Patreon, we do have a Patreon. We had our third member of our Patreon club joined today. Actually, it was very exciting. So that was a big deal. Thanks for that. We are building this thing up, and we'd love your support. And if you want to find us, you can find us under Talking Cardboard Live on Patreon. Today, we are here to talk about an important topic. But first off, and way more importantly, Joe, how you doing, man?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm good, man. Good. Ready to rock and roll. I got my drink. I haven't had a drink in like a week, so.
Well done, sir.
Yeah. I wasn't intentional. I wasn't trying to be good. I wasn't trying to be good there. Good evening, everybody. Good evening to the chat. We've got an active chat. We had such an active chat last time. I'm looking forward to. Hopefully we can keep it going this week too. Anyways,
what's up, Jay Fish?
Yeah, what's up, guys? So what we're going to talk about, and this is something we were getting into this before. A lot of times we'll start talking about the thing that we want to talk about with you all before the show even starts. And before we got going too much, it was like, oh, we got to pump the brakes on this because we got to start talking about this with you all. Yeah, time out. And this is a very important thing for anybody who is in the business of selling cards, is how you source cards for a sports card business. And it's probably, I would say, like, you can't run a successful sports card business without being able to effectively source cards.
And it takes time. And, you know, you like you said, you can't sell cards if you can't get cards. You know, and the buying of cards is a lot of the fun in the sports card business. Selling it's fun, but you know, when you're out buying cards, it's kind of like, you know, I don't know, it's you're not buying for you, but you still have the joy of, you know, the purchasing. There's two Griffey booklets, the Griffey Mays and the Griffey Hank Aaron booklets. I mean, I got those and was like, holy crap, I just bought Game Warren, Ken Griffey Jr., Hank Aaron, and Willie Mays. I mean, it was amazing. Yeah, I had it for 2 weeks and sent it off.
Man, that's something. I think it's funny. Like when I go out and I buy, like, I feel like I'm always buying for myself, and maybe that's stupid. I mean, you have to buy. I think part of the reason I'm successful at it is that I buy things that I would actually want to buy. And so maybe that's a part of it. And I'm okay about just letting it go to other people. I think is a part of it. So obviously there's a lot that goes into sourcing. So there's a lot of stuff I'd love to talk about when it comes to sourcing. First off, it's like, you got to know where to buy. So that's one thing we should talk about, is where to buy. And I think what to buy is actually more important than where, because
I think you just hit on that, because in order to sell successfully in anything, whether it's sports cars, my wife sold windows and doors for a while. And in order to sell anything successfully, you have to buy into or enjoy what you're selling. Otherwise, it's going to come across as fake or just sort of vanilla cardboard. Like, yeah, I'm here to sell you this, blah, blah, blah. Look at this piece of cardboard right here. It's great. But if you don't like what you're selling, I mean, it's like the stuff you pick for your shows and whatnot. So I pick stuff that I like myself, right? Yeah. So if you don't enjoy what you're selling, you're not going to sell very well.
Yeah, I think it's like what you like. It's like kind of, there's that Japanese thing where like you should be doing ikigai, right? Where like what you should be doing in life is what you love, intersecting with what you can make money with, intersecting with what you're good at and all that stuff. So it's a Venn diagram of sorts. And I think the Venn diagram with this is like what you like authentically and what you know, and also what sells. Like, sorry, I'm kind of like, hopefully that makes sense. It's like that's where those two things meet, I think, is like kind of the sweet spot. And then if you can get it at the right price, I think that's like the third part of it. It's like where to source, what to source, and then how much. I think those three things, if you do, and then you do that kind of to the scale that you need to do it at, and being able to do that it does take time. I think, I think that's a part of it too. But maybe we could start with, because I think that's the first question that people maybe go. Actually, the first thing that people ask me all the time is like, where do you go?
Yep.
Where do I get these cards that whether I'm selling on Whatnot or eBay, or I'm setting up at card shows and trying to hustle that way? How do I actually get the cards? Where do I get them? I think where is like the biggest question that I get, kind of without thinking about what and how much sometimes.
Sure.
So we could start there. Where are some of the like places that you don't have to give up all your secrets or anything like that? That's not the intention with this, but we all have our own like little ideas of like, oh, there's this or that. But I think there's places that you can go to source in general and consider. What are some of the things that you would say in regards to that, Joe?
Well, two things that have been the most successful for me, I think, are online sourcing, i.e. through Facebook Marketplace ads. I put a recurring post on Facebook Marketplace that says, buying sports cards, memorabilia collections. If you have things to sell, hit me up, that sort of thing. And it does get some traction. It initially got some traction headed my way, although that was slower than the card shows, obviously. But one of the things that I've noticed as far as the online sourcing approach is that if you are honest and fair with the people that you deal with on those platforms, there are some crooked folks out there on those platforms. I mean, Facebook Marketplace isn't some dream place to go source, I'll be honest. But when you filter through some of the garbage, you get folks that that are willing to sell. And if you are willing to be an honest business person, and if you pay somewhat stronger, you get people. I get people that I started buying from, hesitantly in August, September of last year, that now, hey, I found blah, blah, blah. One guy buys and sells storage lockers just in general. And he's at this point, anyone that he buys, that he has a lot of sports cards or memorabilia, that kind of stuff. He calls me first. He doesn't call the local shops. He's like, hey, Joe, I got this, whatever, blah, you want to come look at it? And if it's something I feel like I can move and be interested in, I go and look at it for sure.
I think you made a good point in terms of like, if you make good deals with people, that they will actually reach out to you, and sometimes, and then also like establishing the relationship is important. And yes, this is like, I think this is the point, is if you run a successful business, you're one of the places that people will look to unload things. And a lot of times collections can be things that people want to unload, because we do know, as people who sell cards, that one of the big difficult things about managing a card business is just the storage of the cards, right? You get these huge collections. Like, I mean, I'm in it right now. I got like tubs there. I bought like a truck full of memorabilia and like 150,000 sports cards. And it's a lot of stuff. And I didn't pay that much for it, but it's a lot to figure out what's worth anything. A lot of it isn't worth much of anything, figuring out how to and if that's the case, like, you just got to, so there's some storage considerations. But I think, like, getting back to the point that, yes, this is definitely a way, is like through your network that you're starting to build. And I think that's like what it is. Like, whether you're using card shows, you're using Facebook Marketplace, you're using different ways to become like a magnet for buying cards at scale. I think that one of the things that really helps you out is once you start to establish yourself as a reputable, honest person. And obviously, if you pay stronger, it definitely helps too, because people will be like, oh, you'll be the first person they hit up. Actually, I think one of the tips I would say, if there's somebody who has stuff that's good and you know that they might have some like recurring business, is not to negotiate hard with them at all.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, honestly, and if you can just pay what they're asking, there's like somebody who hooks me up with stuff all the time, and I mostly just pay what they ask me, just because it's like, I always do well with it. And they're not trying to overcharge me. So I think these are some of the things that kind of go into it. Is just like, it's not like there's one place you go. You don't go to it's like Walmart where you roll your car up and you're like, hey, load me up. You gotta start to build these connections.
Fish, to touch on this, did you say, is that 300 inserts or 300,000 inserts? Because my God, man, But you know, I think it's a good mix of. I really don't have to search much out at this point, honestly. There's a lot that comes to me, and the rest of the searching I do, honestly, is mostly at shows. 300,000, and good God, man, parallels. Holy smoke, dude! That's, I mean, yeah, I've got 137 5 count boxes. Thank God my parents have a bonus room over their garage, because I bought a storage locker out of it. It was a little over 750,000 cards, and I'm still going through them. I mean, so storage and stuff is an issue for sure.
There's an unlimited. I do want to say this. This is one thing. Another thing I want to say about sourcing is that I think people have this mindset that, oh, I'm not going to be able to get out and get what I need. It's like, where do you think the people who are setting up the card shows get their cards from? I mean, there's an unlimited number of people that are, for different reasons, either trying to get out of boxes and boxes and boxes full of cards, or just actively trying to sell stuff at a discount.
Yeah.
And it's like, people have all different kinds of motivations for getting rid of cards. Whether it's like, I mean, sometimes it's sad, like somebody dies and then somebody is given a collection and they're just like, well, this is what I want for it. And are you willing to pay it? And sometimes you look at it, you're like, yeah, that's great. And then other times you're like, well, there's a little bit of education involved. It's like, people think sometimes they have a little bit more than they actually have. And there's negotiation that goes into it and all that stuff. But I think that there's an unlimited number of different avenues and people and situations in which these cards can come to you, or you can just go out and start to seek them. But I think like starting to build some personal connections, whether it's, again, through card shows, through setting up seller accounts, or just setting up, like you're talking about, like creating an ad. I think that's a great place to start in terms of like the location of it, where, like, as far as where to source. And then you can also, here's the thing, like sourcing at the card shows, you're not just looking for, like, there's some card booths where I'll go up to the booth and I'll find like 2 things. I'll buy 2 things, and then I'll go to another booth and I'll buy like 10 things. And then I'll go to the next table and I buy like a whole box, or I fill up half my truck. It's like and then you get the chance to like build a connection with each one of these people and figure out like how you do well, how you do business together. And it's going to be different with every person that you run across.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's I do think passing up on a deal is so Fisher says I can't pass up on a deal is a problem, and this does there's a bottleneck that can happen. I think that's more like a topic for another time, is like, I think part of like it is cash flow and inventory management. I think that's a pretty big deal. And it's certainly something that I run up to from time to time, is that I'm like, there's stuff that I need to move that is like, and why is the certain type of card that I seem to be seeming to pile up, and kind of getting to the bottom of like what that's all about. But getting back to sourcing, so we talked about a little bit about like where you can buy the cards, which I think is very important.
One point to make real quick, I would not recommend trying to source through opening wax. Don't open boxes.
That's a terrible idea. Yeah,
lose your tail. I know people that have tried to do that, and they throw thousands of dollars into getting nothing.
Well, I think the thing is that you brought up there, I'm not really tied into people that do this, but I do know that there are people that eat this way, is they are connected with people who rip a lot of wax, rip cases, and they're getting a lot of their supply from like buying the stuff that like the non-huge hits.
Breaker stuff.
There's people that do well with that. So that can be a way to source. It's not really how I source, but I know that's a possibility too. But yes, it's the worst possible way. Like, because you think about it, it's like opening packs is like, it's like the lottery. It's like the lottery. You're really not gonna do well. You're really not gonna. The game is rigged against you. Yes, you got the obviously there's fun to be had. You're not going to get the 101 cards by just you're usually not going to get the 101 cards just by kind of stumbling across them. Right. So you gotta, or the big like players and all that stuff. But and obviously there's a personal enjoyment factor with it as well. It's not something I particularly enjoy anymore, just because how expensive it's gotten. It's just gotten so expensive. I'd just rather buy the cards that I want. if I want singles and stuff. But to each his own. Don't go into it thinking that's a good way to get cards to sell, because you're just not. You're gonna, like you said, you're gonna lose your ass doing that. You're totally gonna lose. So when we're talking about, we talked about where. I think now's a good time to seg into, because we got like 3 aspects to talk about. I think a very important thing, and I see people making mistakes with this, is deciding what to buy. Because if you buy the wrong stuff, it's not going to be easy to sell. And, you're going to end up holding on to the cards you don't want to hold on to stuff for too long when your goal is to sell. You want to like get a good flow. There's some stuff you want to hold. And there's some stuff, if you're a reseller, there's some stuff you're going to want to hold on to because it hasn't quite reached its maturity. You think you get a feeling about a player. Oh, this player hasn't quite been called up. I'm going to hold on to this stack of 50 of this prospect. And I'm going to, like, the week that they get called up is the week that I'm going to cash in. So we have those kinds of situations sometimes, but for the most part, you want to get stuff that you can kind of move in, move out, make a profit on. And, that's definitely stuff that for my shows, when I'm running on Whatnot and when I'm posting stuff on eBay, I'm looking for stuff that I can move within like the next 2 weeks. Ideally, if I can move everything that I buy at the card show in the next 2 weeks, that's ideal. So I'm looking for stuff that right at this instant. I think the thing that I would say is, like, if you want to sell, if your goal with sourcing is to sell, buy things that are actively in demand right now. Or something that you think like maybe next week they're going to get called up, or something like that.
Buy at the cusp and sell when it drops. If you can get that timing down, it's perfect. It's tougher to do sometimes because you really never know what injury is going to happen. This kind of stuff. Those things factor in. But at the same time, to your point, timing is a lot of everything. And one of the things that with my business model is, turns plus burns equals earns. The more I'm turning over, the more I'm earning. I buy at a certain percentage, I sell at a certain percentage. So the higher volume I move, the more volume comes in. So it's definitely important. Timing is everything. But if you're trying to, like you said, to your point, accumulate a stack of this guy for, he's going to get called up at the All-Star break, and then he blows his UCL the week before the All-Star break and goes out for Tommy John for a year and a half, you're cooked.
Yeah, well, I had something happen somewhat recently, like Jason Dominguez. I got a huge stack of Jason Dominguez like a couple weeks before he was going to get called up. I just had a feeling he was going to get called up, and he got called up. And I was really excited because I was ready. I had a bunch of numbered stuff, and I was like, oh, let's go. And then, like, he got hurt like within the first week of getting called up. And then I did not actually cash in on those cards in time. And now I'm like, hopefully he'll be okay. Like, I don't know where he's at. He got a concussed, like running into a wall. And so it's like these kinds of things happen all the time. Yeah, there's going to be like people who flame out. Like Roman Anthony doesn't seem like he's going anywhere right now. There's going to be players.
The biggest thing since sliced bread coming out of the season. So
for sure. Yeah. There's going to be players where it's a lot of ups and a lot of downs. And the thing that's cool about baseball in particular is that it's a long season and there can be stretches where they heat up. And then all of a sudden a card that was completely dead 2 weeks ago, there's actually an active market for, because, or like some random thing. There was a period of about a week and a half where Joe Adele was kind of crazy because he caught 3 home runs in one game.
3 home run robs.
Yeah. He robbed. I don't know if that'll ever happen again. So that's interesting, right? So there'll be like a niche reason that somebody like catches fire, and you got that little window. And then if you don't hit that window, like Jordan Walker's another one. Like he had a huge hot start to the season. The last couple of weeks, it's just kind of cooled off. And now like stuff that you put up, it's a little harder to sell. So it's like there's going to be, you got to ride those waves. And then there hits a certain point with me where it's like, and I think this is a topic for another time, where you have to cash out, move on. And like, some of the cards too, you just use them for giveies or whatever, or, sweeten up the packages of people that buy from you. Things like that. You can, find ways to get creative about the cards that don't quite pan out. And hopefully you're buying the right stuff that can sell You know, we're talking, obviously we're talking about, when we're talking about sourcing, we're talking about not as collectors, we're talking as like people who are selling. So, so the mindset is it's obviously very different from if you're a personal collector. It's very different. And I think the other thing I wanted to say about what is, you know, what is also seasonal. It's good to know too. The what is definitely seasonal in terms of sports.
Unless your name's Shohei, then there is no season.
It's
365 days a year.
Even then, there's going to be like football, for example. You know, there's going to be like the biggest stars in football. You can get discounts on pretty much everything at some point during the year. There's even with like Tom Brady's, like things like that. It's like the best football player of all time. You can get Brady's. I mean, the last couple of months, you've been able to get Brady's for a lot cheaper than when the season was going on. He's not even playing anymore, you know? So, but I think so there's going to be seasonal aspects to this. I think knowing like kind of when to buy baseball, when to buy basketball, there's a kind of buying seasons for the different sports in general. Yes, that there's going to be some players where they're always going to fetch a premium, but even then you'll probably still be able to get cards at a little bit of a discount, or they might like, you know, maybe it's like, cause here's the other thing too, is like, even if a player is like always selling, you always got to take into account that somebody might have a personal, like whatever their connection to that card, they don't want to hold on to it forever. So like they might have a really dope Shohei that has just been sitting around for a couple months, and they're like, I'm just kind of sick of looking. I want to sell it. I'm kind of sick of looking at it. I'm sure I'll take 10% off. You know, sometimes these kinds of things can happen because people want to move inventory, and kind of knowing that can help you kind of like, well, what am I buying? Maybe that's that. And I think like, is there anything that you would add when it comes to like what to buy?
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, selling it's, you know, I bought that, you know, that Ben Rice auto to 10, the Bob Ross Ben Rice auto to 10 that I bought last fall and graded. Well, I waited to the beginning of the season. And you know, I waited and was thinking, all right, well, probably right before the All-Star game would probably be the best time to do this. And then I had a guy hit on it and gave me a pretty decent offer. And I was like, do I really want to hold on to this card for another month and a half for an extra $50? Heck no, move it. See ya, bye, out the door it went. So, I mean, it's just, you know, you have to evaluate whether you want to hold it, you know, and you know, does it do anything for me to hold it for another 6 or 8 weeks to make an extra $50? No, I can move it, generate liquidity, and generate, you know, capital back that I can then turn into, you know, the next rising star, Kate Anderson, Kevin McGonigal, you know, whoever it is, you know, that's not quite established yet and it still hasn't peaked, you know, so you can maximize your returns that way too.
There's always going to be cards that you could make more money on if you hold on to them, or more often than not, I would say you're going to lose. You're going to lose money.
More often than not, yeah.
I would say more often than not. I've only had a couple times where I'm like, damn, I really wish I would have kept that card. I did want to say, like, this is just my personal opinion on like having a PC as a seller. Like, how can you love the sport and love the business of sports cards if you're not invested as a collector yourself? I think that's the thing for me, is like, I have a hard time divorcing myself sometimes from, geez, I have to hold on to this card just because I really love it. You know, I think that's, and also I'm just a genuine sports fan. So like, if you're a genuine sports fan, how can you not be a collector in the card world? It's just, it doesn't make any sense. So me, yes, I have a personal collection. I'm always going to have a personal collection. It's just, and I think that's actually one of the biggest benefits of running a sports card business, is you get the opportunity to see so much stuff that you might want to add to your collection. You just got to have a little bit of restraint. There's so many different Caleb Williams cards that I've seen over the last couple of years that, man, I want to buy them all. And you just can't, do it. Cause it's, you know, I can't own every Bears card out there. I'm not going to try. But I've definitely got a couple sweet ones that are probably better than most people's, you know.
And before I started selling, I had a pretty extensive Yankees and Pittsburgh Steelers collection. I now collect Polamalu and James Harrison and Franco Harris, obviously. And then baseball, I've really narrowed it down to just a few of the old guys. And then obviously Willie Mays and Roberto Clemente are my two main guys in baseball. But, you know, so I mean, fish. Yeah, we do have personal collections. Obviously, I got some signed baseballs, a couple of jerseys, and that kind of stuff that I wouldn't sell. My daughter can get rid of it when I'm gone if she needs to, or wants to take a vacation or whatever it is. But there's certain stuff like that I just enjoy looking at. It's got memories to me. It's got history. So yeah, I mean, we definitely have personal collections.
There's another interesting one that just popped in here. I have 2 prices noted on my cards, what I'd like to get, and let's get rid of it on an offer, or I had it too long. I think that's a good way to look at it. I'd never want to hold on to something for too long. And that's why, like, if I have anybody, like I had somebody on my show today that was like, hey, you got any cool Gary Sheffield? It's like I gave him a very generous discount on a couple of really dope Gary Sheffields because I've had them for a while, and there's not a lot of people that are knocking down people's doors asking for that kind of stuff. So I think it's like you gotta, and also at the end of the day, if you give somebody, a real collector, a good deal on something, they're always going to remember that. And it's part of what gives you good ratings. It's part of what brings people back into your stream. If they see that you're cool with somebody else, actually, I think that's something that I would say too, is like, as far as sourcing specifically at sports card shows, one thing I've learned so much about buying cards from dealers by listening to other people buy from dealers. Mm-hmm. It's just like, if you're in earshot, and I'll be sitting there for like hours sometimes just looking through bins and things like that. It's like, you'll learn so much about the etiquette. There's an etiquette to it.
Yep.
Every dealer is going to have a different vibe. Yep. They're going to have a different personality. And, the way in which you approach them, that you can tell whether they're a little no nonsense with things, or if you can be a little more aggressive. And I mean, I always try to err on the side of being a little more aggressive than I feel comfortable being, because I don't think I'm naturally an aggressive person. So I think I try to be a little bit on the aggressive side when I'm negotiating, just because it usually isn't super aggressive. But and it never hurts. Like being aggressive when you're negotiating with somebody is all about how you say it and how you present it. If you present it like, this is my offer, take it or leave it, jerk. Like, if you give that kind of attitude with it, then people are obviously not going to respond well to that. But most everybody's cool if you're just like, just say it in a cool way, and make it sound like make it sound like a polite request. I always try to make, like, when I'm negotiating with people, if you just make a polite request with it, it's like,
at the same time, you have to, with your aggressiveness, you also have to come from a position of, I know what I want. Because if you're talking about a $10-12 stack, whatever, then it's whatever. But if you're talking about making a couple $100, $300-400 acquisition, that kind of stuff, and you come across in the beginning of that sounding like you just stepped out of the amateur booth, you're toast, you're cooked. You're not.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna smell blood in the water. They're gonna come for your cash. So I mean, you have to if know what you're looking at, and be confident that this is what it is, and you also have to be prepared to walk away.
Oh, I think that's a big part of it, and I'm always practicing that. I'm getting better at, like, being a little bit more aggressive, and then also I've actually had a couple times in the last couple months where I've, like, walked away from a deal just because I felt like they weren't able to meet me where I felt like it was going to be worth my time, where the juice was going to be worth the squeeze. Ultimately, I think we're kind of, because I think we're in actually good timing right now, because we're kind of in a place where we can kind of start to seg into the third part of sourcing. We've already talked about, where to buy, what to buy, and talking about, like, how much. I think we're already kind of starting to seg into that. And the how much is, like, a lot of it just comes down to negotiating. A lot of it comes down to, like, knowing what the active market value is for a card. I think if you don't have tools available to comp cards that are higher value, you should definitely avail yourself of the free ones that are available, like eBay. eBay, you can literally scan a card now. Like, there's ways in which you can look up comps on eBay, but there's many other tools that you can use as well that are useful as well. Actually watching live auction shows can teach you a lot about what cards are going for actively, and it's always changing. There's always a changing pattern with it. So it's crazy, but I do think
along with the price points, is not only sourcing and buying, but also selling. You have to be willing to walk away. No. And there's been multiple times at shows recently where I got these guys coming up wanting to do this deal and that deal at 65-70%, and I'm like, look, fellas, I try to buy between 65 and 75%. that means I'm not selling to you at 70 to 75%.
No.
If you're here to source for your own, for your sellers or whoever, move on to the next table. I'm here to, I mean, I'll catch you some deals with some bigger stacks, but I'm not going to 75% on sales. That's that doesn't work both ways.
What's your target demo with, like, I mean, I'm trying to sell to collectors mostly. Like that's what I'm trying to do. And I know that there's some people that source to other resellers, and it's like, well, if you're sourcing to resellers, then you've got to be paying a lot less. And it's just not going to be, it's not going to work for what I'm doing, because I've already paid the tax. I've kind of paid the price. And so there's no wiggle room there. And I think that this is a good point, and I think this goes back to what we were talking about honesty last week, was like, if you're the seller and you have room to lower the card, then do it. And I think that's the good thing to do. Sometimes it can be beneficial to kind of hold your ground. But like sometimes I've had many times, everybody's going to try to ask for a deal if they've got a little bit of a spine. Some people don't have much of a spine, but everybody wants a deal. And some people are hyper aggressive about getting as aggressive a discount as they can. A lot of times you can meet them halfway. But I think that, again, if you don't have room, I do find it sometimes helpful to explain, like, for home field advantages, for example, I can't really source home field advantages for much less than comps. So I can't sell them for less than comps. So it's like, it just doesn't work for me. I'm already like not really making any money on them. I'll like get them for my shows just to have them in the background. Occasionally
ask for them.
Occasionally people will bid them up, but usually I'm, not making very much money on those. And so depending on what it is that you're selling, you gotta like do. This goes into like another topic that we want to talk about, is like how to run a successful sports card business. You got to know like how to actually make a profit, which there's a lot that goes into it. And we'll definitely get into that in the future, in a future episode. But getting back to sourcing, it's like, yes, you were talking about, Joe, that, if you go to a table, you make a big stack and you say the wrong thing, it could screw the whole deal up, and it could actually like create a bad vibe between you and them. A lot of times, like the language that I like to use is like, I mean, literally, like sometimes I just want to feel out, like, because sometimes here's the thing too, if you throw a price out yourself, I think it can be very beneficial to let whoever you're buying from make the first move. I think in negotiating it can be very powerful to do that. And a lot of times the buyers will like kind of kick that back to you. See like what you want to pay for it. And I always try to have that figure in mind before I ask the question. But a lot of times I'm just like saying, hey, here's what I got. What would you like for this?
Or what do you got on this?
A lot of times, like that's the easiest way to say it. And you say it in like a friendly way. A lot of times and especially you want to be talking to the dealers if they're friendly. Some dealers you don't want to talk to because they're just not like friendly people. They're not people. Let's be honest. Like some people, they don't want to talk to you. And you can kind of get that feeling, but a lot of dealers love to just talk about sports, or you find out what team they like and you can make some comments, and you're just trying to get to know people. I think that's another thing too, when it comes to negotiating and how much. It's funny how like the how much is so rarely like pay this much for this card. Like that's not the kind of advice that's useful at all on here, because like, we could say pay this amount for this Shohei rookie, and then 2 weeks from now, the comps are totally different. And it's like, that's not helpful to anybody. But I think it's like getting to know the person and building a relationship. The better you can have a rapport with the person you're buying from, it makes a huge difference. Even small talk, you make the effort of pleasant small talk with somebody, and you tell them a little bit about why you're there buying from them. It can also like help them understand, oh, okay, this guy's like doing like whatnot, or they're a personal collector. If they're doing whatnot, they could say like, oh, okay, they're a reseller. So maybe I need to like kind of keep that in mind when I'm comping for them.
I got a perfect example of that. Tiff and I were at a hotel show maybe 6 months ago. Guy runs smaller shows, and we spent probably 15, 20 minutes. It was kind of packed. We're sort of wedged into this space, and the dealer across from us had 1 6-foot table. He had some really nice stuff. He had a Joe Mauer 1-of-1, which Tiff was just drooling all over. Beautiful card. But so we're talking to this guy, and we didn't really have anywhere to go. So we're like, just shooting straight up a conversation with the guy. The guy's from lower Michigan, like southern Michigan. Start talking. My dad grew up in Dearborn, so he knew some of the Tigers and all that kind of stuff. And we're talking, and he said after about 50 minutes, he goes, you two are the most pleasant 2 people that I've talked to at a card show in months. He said, most people just have an agenda. They pop in, they ask you about cards and then move on. So you people are actually, talking to me like I'm a person. He said, I've seen her look at that Joe Mauer a couple of times. He goes, I'll give it to her for half what I'm asking if you're interested.
Man,
I was
look
like,
at that. Look at that.
He told us point blank. He goes, I never would have given anyone that deal. He said, you two were kind. You were talking to me like I was, somebody other than just a vehicle to source a card from. He said, and I really appreciate that. So I want to show my appreciation for that. So you're absolutely right on that, John.
Yeah, I think it's just, it's what you want to have with the people that you're selling to, like it's like you want to have good relationships. Obviously, as a seller, you want to have great relationships to the people that you're selling to. Like you want to get to know as many of your buyers by their first name as possible. It's like, and part of that is it's a little hard online, but it's not impossible to do. But also it's like, if you take that effort as a buyer to get to know the people that you're buying from, I promise you will get better deals. You will get the best deals. You will get cut in on things that you didn't even imagine were possible. Especially if you take a little 100%. Bit of time getting to know the people that are kind of the stalwarts, the kind of like the people that are there every show kind of people. There's really cool people in the card business. That's my experience anyways. Some people it's like a little tougher sledding, but I think one of the reasons why it's not been too difficult for me is like, know how to have a conversation with somebody, know how to crack a joke, how to, for me, it's like, I'm not, maybe I'm not the nicest person all the time, but it's like you can crack a joke and talk crap about sports or, talk about like why you like this card that they have. And there's all different kinds of ways. You don't have to be the nicest person on the planet, even though Joe is the nicest person on the planet. And it's not surprising at all. It's not surprising at all that that's a story that you would tell. Yeah, but to me, it doesn't surprise me at all.
I have bad days too, and I don't typically nobody knows that I'm having a bad day if I'm having a bad day. One of the things I learned very early on as a vet is to hide that stuff at times when you need to. But overall, I'm a very positive person, and that kind of rapport, like you said, and you go to shows a couple of times, you get to know the people that are there every show, and they recognize you. Oh, hey Joe, how you doing? This kind of stuff. And I always typically wear the same things to the shows so that I'm recognizable. If my beard's not down to here but up to here, it's still hey, it's Joe. You know what I mean? So
I tend to wear the same. I wear this hat everywhere in the card business. Dude, like it's like people know the hat. They love it. So like I get comments on the hat all the time. And
the images you sent earlier, you like without the hat, it wouldn't have been you. I mean, I was like, Big John, where's the Captain Crunch hat?
Yeah, the hat is like an icebreaker. If you can have like anything that's an icebreaker, that can be a cool thing too. If you wear like a goofy shirt or whatever, like some people will comment on that, whatever it is. And I do think that like, we don't have to that's exactly true. We don't need to squeeze every ounce of profit out of a card. I will say this, when we're talking about, because I think we're still talking about like how much to pay. I think, and this is just part, again, we'll have a whole episode where we talk about running a successful business in the card business. You have to know with everything that's in the stack, you have to assume like that you're not going to be able to quickly sell all of it. You have to kind of cook in what's my profit that I expect to make on this. And if you're buying like a big bulk stack, which I'm doing a lot because I'm selling a lot of stuff on Whatnot, it's like I'm thinking like, well, how much do I need to pay per card to really be ahead here and feel excited about it? And what's do I have a lot of bangers in this stack? This stack seemed like it's going to be really fluid. I'm like it's just going to fly out my store, when I'm putting it up. Or is this stuff that I'm going to have to work a little bit to sell? Or is some of the stuff even like stuff that I would just put up for giveies or something like that? And it's like I have to figure out, with all that, what's the price I would ideally like to pay? And I always try to have that figure in mind before I even hand them the stack. That way I know like if they're even close. Because sometimes I'll hand that stack over and they're just like, it's almost twice as much as what I was like willing to actually pay for it. And I'm just like, I think we're pretty far. I mean, I'll literally say like, I think we're pretty far apart. I think that's the way I would put it too. Yep. I think we're pretty far apart from where I would value this at. And here's why, because I'm looking to source X cards for X amount. And this is like kind of where I need to be at in order to to be able to be profitable and feel excited and good about the purchase. So, you know,
my verbiage is almost identical. You know, I think we're just a little too far apart to really come together on a deal here, because I'm thinking this. Here's why I'm thinking this. You know, and I understand where you're coming from, but I think we're just going to be too far apart on that. And then sometimes that will generate a thought in their head. Oh, well, I might be about to lose this sale. Hold on a minute. Well, hold on a second. Well, maybe I can do, you know, whatever. And I don't know how you look at it, John. I sort of look at my purchases, particularly when I'm purchasing bulk stacks, sort of on a curve.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are going to be specific cards in that stack that will maximize their return.
Yeah.
And there are others that just sort of trickle down off the sides to where, you know, they're going to be, you know, out of a stack of 20, 25, maybe there's going to be 4 or 5 cards, or on each side of that stack, they're going to be givey cards, or are going to go for $2, you know, whatever it is. But I go into that sort of, that's sort of my visual on that, is that I know that these are going to do really well, and there's going to be some that don't do quite so well, and there's some that do really poorly. But that's just sort of how you know, and sometimes you have to throw a couple of lower end cards in to a bigger deal to sort of soften the blow almost on the.
Oh yeah,
right?
Definitely. And then I think here's the other thing too. I think this is just a general tip on buying. Obviously, as a reseller, if you're buying a stack, you're buying like 50 to 100 cards. If there's like 4 or 5 cards in that stack that helps you recoup like 50% of your money, then that's kind of one of the things that I like to be at. Like, if I can, because that way I know it's pretty tough for me to lose, you know. But in a way, you're trying to stack you're trying to, in good faith, make a deal, but at the same time, you also want to try and ensure that you're running a successful business and you're not shooting yourself in the foot. Like, and one of the ways that you can do that is by, like, well, you know, I could take a risk here. Like, I don't know if any of this stuff is going to sell. You can't know if anything. That's one thing that I've learned, especially running on Whatnot. You never know what's going to sell. It really, like, you can guess. You know that like Shoheis are going to sell. You know, judges are going to sell. Some judges and some Shoheis don't sell that well because they're not cool ones, right? There might be base 26 ones. They're probably not going to sell now because they're like, it's been out a while, you know. Unless you're like selling them for $1 or something like that, which, you know, that's a whole other story. But you know, I think it just depends on like but that's one of the things I'm looking for is like, especially if I'm making like a bigger deal, is like, do I know there's a few cards in there that's going to help me like recoup a substantial amount of the money that I'm spending? And if so, that makes me feel a lot better about them. If they come back to me and say, the more of those kind of cards I have in there, the better I feel about if they come back to me with a value that's higher than what I ideally like to pay. And then a lot of the times, if that's the case, then I'll just kind of meet them somewhere in the middle. Or if it feels like sometimes the personality, you got to kind of feel the personality out. Is this the only time they're ever going to show up? They have like a personal collection and they're just selling that. Then, like, you know, you're probably not going to get a lot of juice out of like trying to negotiate hard with them. And also, like, they're not going to be a repeat buyer. So like, or somebody that you're going to be able to buy from repeatedly. So, you know, maybe you can be a little more aggressive. I think it's a decision you have to make, but I think with people that I'm making deals with constantly, they're actually like cutting me better deals than I would be making anyways.
Sure.
Like,
because you got a history.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I also cut them deals on stuff. I'll give them deals. Here's the other thing too. You can't always be a taker. No. I think that's the thing. That's the thing you got to learn too about, like, I'm not trying to be preachy to anybody, but I think this is one thing that I learned is that, like, it's give and take. It really is give and take. And I think the more generous you are and the less like you roll up your sleeves and you're really trying to fight to drive down the price on something, a lot of the times, like, you just you'll be somebody who's difficult to deal with. And you'll actually like fight off like a lot of the deals you would otherwise get. Because like, if they have stuff that they want to move and they don't care, like they got it for nothing, like they would just rather give it to you and give you a deal on it because you're a buddy of theirs. You know, I think that's a big part of it. Just tell Joe you're starting to collect. He'll send you a box. Yeah, there you go.
Keith, you know what? Don't see yourself out. That's so damn true. You're wrong for that, by the way. You're wrong for that.
That's hilarious, man.
That's so true, though.
I love it. I love that we've had like a good time these last couple of weeks. Had a really active chat in here and all that stuff. That's what this is about. It's about like talking about these things that are fun and not taking it too seriously. Like, I think there's a lot of people that take this stuff way too freaking seriously, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a business, but it's like, we can have fun, you know, it's not life or death, you know, none of this stuff's life or death, you know?
I know, Fish. I know. I know your comment on that K-line rookie was telling enough, my man. I know. Oh my God. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Oh, no. I don't want to interrupt what you were saying.
No, it said he reached out on the whole the K-line rookie card that I'd found, the 54,
Sick.
and was just
Sick.
I'm so jealous, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's a beautiful card. I just got really lucky.
Yeah, what a beautiful card. These kinds of things happen too. It's like I think that's another thing too, is like there'll be sourcing miracles that happen. I have literally found 101 cards in dollar boxes before. Yep. These kinds of things can happen, and it's like, you know, you can feel one way or another about like, oh, how could you take a 101 card out of a dollar box? It's like, well, the person who has the dollar box, they already got what they wanted out of it. You know, they already got
in the dollar box.
It wouldn't be in the dollar box if they cared that much about it. So I never feel bad about that. I know people have gotten great deals on stuff that I've sold on whatnot, where I don't really care that much. You know, I want people to get deals on stuff. Like I price my stuff pretty aggressively so that people feel like they get good deals on things. You know, it's like, that's a part of it. It's like, you get there's cool stuff that comes in. There's always going to be cool stuff that you can pass those deals along forward to people. And, you know, maybe you'll sell that one, you get that 101, you'll sell that 101 and give somebody a deal on the 101, you know, because you didn't really pay much for it. That's the other thing too. It's like, the one you sent, maybe your friend for life. All right, we're talking about like some kind of, all right, cool.
I sent him a K-line with his package because I knew he was a Tigers guy.
Nice, man. That's cool. See, that's the other thing too, is getting to know. Like, just found a shop that runs penny boxes. I'm heading there with a 4-row. Yeah, you know, like, you never know what you could find. You know, I take shots on stuff all the time.
Heck yes.
You never make the shot that you don't take. And if you have, like, I think that's the other thing I wanted to say in terms of sourcing. If you can, like, there might be some people who are just starting out with selling, and it can be difficult. I think one of the toughest things is like sourcing, but the toughest thing about sourcing can be sometimes having the cash flow. You have to have the cash flow to be able to take advantage of opportunities when they arise. Sometimes you have to have $3,000 sitting in your bank account because you come across a deal that's like, feels almost too good to be true, and you have to do it. Like, but if you don't have that money, what are you going to do? You can't pay with a credit card. You know, you have to, they need cash, or they need like you to Venmo it to them. Like right now, like I've had times where I'm like, oh crap, I got to come up with like $5,000 right now that I wasn't planning to spend. Let me see, I got to transfer this money over and figure out, I'll do half with Cash App, I'll do half with Zelle, and I have to call the bank because it's like triggering off all these freaking fraud warnings and things like that. But you have to like, and obviously you see people strolling to these card shows with like big wads. I'm not that guy, but like you see people who just kind of carry around like thousands of dollars of cash with them because they never want to miss a deal. And so I do think that like you have to kind of start to veer into that mindset, even if you don't have the big budget to be able to do it. The faster you can kind of veer into that mindset, then there's going to be opportunities. There's opportunities all the freaking time. But if you don't have the money to be able to pull the trigger or be aggressive enough, you're going to lose that deal to somebody else. Yep.
And to your point, I had a gentleman that carries so much cash around shows. Guy left a bank bag of $50,000 at my table and walked away from it.
Oh my God. Like, I don't know how's that work? I don't know how you forget $50,000
of cards for me. And I look across as I'm filling up the slots and the spaces in my showcases in December, right before Christmas. And I see this bank bag across the thing. And I was like, that's not mine. And I reach across, I was like, holy, that's Mikey's bank. And dude, he had 5 banded $10,000 stacks, had broke the one to spend 30. I was the first table he came to, $1,300. So there was 48.7 in cash in that bag. Crazy. 2 weeks before Christmas. And I spent the next like 8 minutes hot footing around the doggone show till I found him. And I was like, yo, bro, it must be nice to be able to walk away from this and not know where it is, but here, take this. I don't want to be responsible for this stuff. At least I'm honest. I mean,
There's a lot of people that aren't. So like,
You've seen guys at shows that would have folded up their table, their showcase, and been out the door in 5 minutes with that bag. Are you kidding me?
I know people here locally and here in Nashville that I've heard stories about, like a guy, I know a buddy who like accidentally left a box of cards sitting under, like, it was like bridging between his table and the table over. And he left it there, and like nobody, like, he's pretty sure that the dude next to him stole the box, and the guy was dishonest about it.
Wow.
It's like, so these kind of things can happen.
Yeah.
These types of things can happen. It sucks. There's dishonest people. We talked about that last week. Do I have a cap of cash on hand? I think it's good to have cash. I mean, that's when you go to a card show, especially, you have to have cash, because not everybody accepts, Venmo or even Cash App or any of that stuff. Like, I know people that I literally cannot buy cards any other way than by cash.
Yep.
And also, cash is king. Like, people are just like, if you see, I will say, like, I don't really use this much, but I've seen other people have success with it. They'll just be like, hey, I'll give you 300 cash for it right now. Like, they'll literally say, hey, it's cash. And there's no bank trail or whatever,
Yep.
and the appeal to that is obviously there's no
record of the transaction.
Exactly. So to some people that can be a motivation. So if you have the cash versus, especially like with some folks, like you can't do friends and family sometimes.
Yep.
Sometimes it's going to force you to do like some kind of transaction fee, and everybody hates that. So,
And fish, I keep that's my cap.
If you carry around more than that, you're like a high roller, and you got to be careful. I do say, like, you got to be careful if you got that kind of cash sitting around.
Yeah, if I were rolling around like this dude with 50 or 5 stacks in my bank bag, I'd have to carry.
Oh,
and
for sure,
I don't
sure.
Like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. So I don't.
You definitely you could make yourself a target.
Yeah,
for sure. You just got to be, I mean, you just got to, it's like anything nowadays. You just got to keep your head on a swivel a little bit. You can't try, especially on a bigger card show. A lot of the bigger card shows have security teams that are armed. And
sitting behind tables, Tiff and I have identified a couple different groups at different shows where you can see they're working in unison. There'll be 3 or 4 of them walking around. Several will be observing, several will be at the tables looking, and it's a noticeable thing where they're trying to identify a target audience. And it's like, wow, is
this somebody that I can,
if you see that kind of stuff, swarming or whatever, you see, I've seen those tactics for years, but to see it in card show environments, kind of interesting, but it's very similar. It's a lot. There's a lot of similarity there to the.
Yeah. Is there somebody that I can like bring 3 of my buddies over and distract somebody while I swipe the Shohei or whatever,
Yeah. That's exactly it. So, I mean, you see them sort of lining tables up, and, I mean, people have approached us before. I've looked at people and been like, get away. I'm not doing business with you.
No. It's unfortunate, getting back to the honesty thing, but are there any final, because we're getting to the point where we're going to be going into look what I found, our little positive segment, close things out on a positive note. But I think, like, closing thoughts on sourcing, we've had a really great conversation, I think, here, between us and also between the chat too, about, how to source effectively as a seller. And any kind of closing thoughts you might have, Joe?
3 points, really. Be creative, be kind and honest, and pay strong early. Because if you pay strong early, you embed yourself in that person's memory banks. You're like, oh man, that dude paid like between 75 and 80% for that. That was really awesome. Most people are trying to get like 50 to 60%. So they instantly remember who you are. And after the second, John, after the second or third show, names. I mean, heck, you may know that they're married with their wife. I mean, that sort of thing. So you get that personal rapport. And anytime I'm doing a deal with somebody that I know personally, it's going to be a more amicable deal than somebody that walks up the other side of my table for the first time ever. What about you?
Yeah. I think that's that's all spot on. I feel that sourcing is something that it's something you have to be able to do effectively in order to run a successful business. And however you do it, we all have our own journey with this. Some people are people. I mean, I was the shyest kid in my high school class, and I kind of figured it out eventually. You know, you just have to learn to be yourself, and some people, you don't need to necessarily be a people person in order to do good business either. I will say that too. Sometimes just like if short, polite, you don't have to be aggressive in any kind of way. If you have an outgoing personality, I think it can be beneficial, but it's not to everybody. Not everybody likes outgoing personalities. So I think you got to find, like with anything, you got to find your people and part of your team. I think thinking of sourcing as if you were like making music, you're a part of a band, like what's part of your team? Like you need a drummer, you need a bass player, you need a guitar player, you're the lead singer, you need somebody to help market it, you need a producer, you need all this stuff, you need a tour manager, like you need all these things. Part of your team as a card business owner is the people that you buy from. Yep. So you're just creating a part of your team, and that team could be people that are super introverted. I know a lot of people who set up tables who are super introverted, and it's really awkward. And I don't think I could ever get a single personal detail out of them, even if I tried, you know, but it's not necessary. Like you just got to learn like what their deal is and be polite with them. I think always kindness. If you err on the side of kindness, even if it's just like, even if you're trying to make an aggressive offer, if you're kind about it, it just makes all the difference.
It lessens the harshness of any kind of transaction like that, because it
softens the blow. It's okay to be aggressive too. I will say that allow yourself. Actually, I think that's something that people don't respectfully aggressive. Yes. But I think you have to learn how to aggressively ask for what it is that you want, because you want to pay the price that you'd ideally like to pay. And when I'm thinking about the price I'd ideally like to pay, I'm not thinking about, I'm just going to lowball this guy. That's never what I'm thinking. But I'm thinking like, if I could get my druthers and I could make a really good, if I could feel like really, the way I think about it is like, what price would I pay where I feel really excited about this deal? You know? And that's kind of the figure that I want to approach them with if I'm asked. But I always want to see like kind of where they're coming from first a lot of the time, because sometimes the figure they throw back at me is actually lower than the figure I want to ask. So you never know. You really don't know what, and sometimes people will be super cool. Like I've had so many times where people are just like so cool and give me such a good deal on something. I'm like, you sure? And I've had people like where they give me a deal where I'm like, I feel like I'm paying like you were talking about, like paying like 50% of comps. And I'm like, are you sure? And they're like, I've literally had people say like, yes, because I want you to come back.
Yep.
You know, I want you to come back. I want you to feel really good about this deal. And I'm like, thank you so much. And I didn't do anything to deserve that, by the way. I didn't negotiate. I didn't ask for that price. It's just, I think like, you know, some people will give you a deal and there's no knowing exactly why that is. Sometimes they just don't care about the cards. They paid almost nothing for them. Sometimes it's like, oh, pay me anything. I don't care. What do you want to pay me? And then sometimes it's like, well, you know, it's a little harder to get a deal on, but you know, it's there's all kinds of reasons why you could get a deal. They just like your personality. They like the story. They like the fact that you were next to them the whole time and you were super cool. You know, there's all kinds of,
like my sparkling personality and stunning.
Exactly. Yeah.
Get out of here, Joe.
This is the best looking podcast on YouTube. Is all I gotta say. The best looking podcast on the entire tube, man. What a good note. I think we're at a place where we're ready to play our fast and favorite segment, which is Look What I Found. Joe, we're going to hit you. We always hit everybody up with a little positivity to close out the show, because this show is really ultimately at the base of it. We try to cook this into everything that we're doing, even if we're talking about stuff that's serious, not pleasant necessarily, is that there's a joy to the hobby that we both have, and we hope that everybody here who's tuning in has as well. And we want to try to spread a little bit more of that if we can. But Joe, do you have like a card that you'd like to share with everybody that lights you up in some kind of way?
I have 3 cards actually, John. This week I've selected 3 memorabilia cards of players that I absolutely have loved growing up, and they make me happy. One of them is numbered, the other 2 aren't. However, they're all game worn.
Hell yeah.
Not
Hell
the
yeah.
Panini. This one. There's a Panini, whatever. The first one is Fall Classic, George Brett.
Oh
That's
yeah.
clear. Fall Classic, 2002, I think. Yep, 2002. Fall Classic, George Brett, game worn. It's a slightly dirty patch. I did not dirty it myself. It came dirty in the card, John. Talked about that before. But I love the Fall Classic series. They got some great names, and George Brett was just iconic in the 80s, 70s, late 70s, 80s, in the 90s as a straight up baller.
Oh
And
yeah.
dude was absolute fire. Love George Brett. This is card numero uno for me today, man.
The pine tar guy, right? Is the pine tar?
Yep.
Yeah.
Get that rag working.
Get that rag working. George Brett, classic. Again, I love all those older patches there. I love it that there's a period of time where you could just look at a card and you're like, I'm sure this is game used, you know. But back when that mattered, and back when they actually went to the trouble, you know.
Yep.
It was like, here's a napkin. Who knows? Maybe they wore it. Maybe they didn't.
Athlete looked at. They walked into a ballroom and looked at a bunch of jerseys and they're like, "Yep, athlete looked at."
They spat on it. They spat on the jersey or whatever. Who knows? The first card I wanted to share is occasionally you'll come across cards that you're like, you didn't even know they exist. Yeah, John is like, it's a classic, right? Biblical classic. Best name ever. The best name. So occasionally you'll come across cards where you're like, I don't know if the signature is real. I don't know anything about this is like legit, but it looks licensed. The Shanks collection, I don't know what that is. I looked up the Shanks collection online. I couldn't find anything about it. It's serial numbered out of 1,000. Like, I'm like, it's Nolan Ryan. That's pretty cool, right? Like, what the heck's the deal with that? Maybe it's worth something. Maybe it's not. I don't think. I like random cards like that. And a card like this, I don't really need to sell this. Like, it's like, this was something that was for the year 1990 to have something that was printed to 1,000. That seems kind of cool.
Dude, and the thing in the 80s and through the mid 90s, there were a lot of companies that printed. They were basically autograph cards. They were printed for guys to sign at either card shows or sports conventions, that kind of stuff. And so they'd print those out, like King's cards had some out, and Mother's Bread had some out, and Mother's Bakeries, and that kind of Ames Bakery in the Midwest. That kind of stuff, produce those cards, and they're legit cards.
It seems to me this is a really weird place to place the signature. And like the color of the pen seems like a weird color to put in that corner. It makes me think it might be real, but
it might be. And Nolan signed everything. I mean, he has 5 billion signatures out there. I mean, it's why his autos aren't worth that much, because he signed anything. But I mean, Nolan.
I'm not going to sell that though. It's like, who knows if it's real? I don't know. It looks cool.
It's a Nolan Ryan auto out of 1,000.
Could be. Maybe it's signed. I don't know. Could be signed.
Right.
Could be legit. Who knows, man? I did take it out and see if I could find any pen impressions, and I didn't really see any pen impressions, but he could have been using like a felty pen. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know, like a felt tip or something like that.
Yeah. Who knows? It does look like his real signature though.
Yeah.
Could be legit. Who knows, guys? What hit us up with another one.
So my next one is out of Topps Tier 1 Legend Series, game worn Reggie Jackson.
Hell yeah, man.
So first baseball game I ever went to was Yankee Stadium, 1976. And I got to watch Reggie Jackson play baseball for 3 years as a kid. And just unbelievable. It's a memory as a preteen, single digit year old kid to watch Reggie Jackson do what he was doing at that time live was just is iconic to me. And
Mr. So October, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mr. October. That card will forever mean something to me. Just and it's numbered out of 200.
That's great. Yeah, especially those cards from that when they're numbered that low is really cool too. Special. I like those tier ones. They look great. They're great.
Beautiful cards. They really are.
This is a card that I just like. They just came out of the Topps Chrome. I want to give a shout out for refractors that are yellow and not gold and low serial numbered. Like a lot of times, like the yellow ones, this is my non-guy. He's like one of my favorite players on the Bears. And I also love with the Topps Chrome that they have them actually like the 25 rookies in their actual jerseys versus like all the Panini stuff is like, it's like in practice pants from like the practice, like the early preseason games. And it's like, you actually get, I think it's actually cool that Topps gets to release these this year, because you get like them in their actual jerseys and actual games playing. And it's just a shout out of like all of the yellow refractors that are not like the uber expensive ones that they kind of look like gold. And I think they're pretty cool. I think it's like a $10 or $15 card. I don't think it's anything crazy, but it's like, if that gold, you got the gold to like 50, that'd be like what, like a $200 card or something crazy.
Yeah. You know? The yellow, I think, pops more than the gold. I think the yellow has more visual appeal than the gold does. I mean, across the multiple platforms that I've seen, Bowman Chrome, Topps Chrome, the Topps Chrome Football.
The Prism Draft yellows are really cool looking too.
Yeah.
They look gold. They look gold. They're not gold, but they look gold. Yeah.
Yep. And it's funny. So you got me to change card number 3, John.
Why?
You did, because I had this one set aside for next week, but I figured instead of running 3 mem cards, I had an Albert Pujols game worn patch card next. I'll save that for next week. But the Drake's Bakery big hitters, Johnny Bench.
Oh, that's cool. I like those. Yeah.
And I looked at that under mag. That is actually signed.
Hell yeah, man. That's great.
So it's not authenticated.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember the signatures on those kinds of cards looking that nice. Like,
no, and again, the placement, you look at the placement of that, and Johnny Bench, iconic autograph, first of all. And number 2, if you look at this versus some of his later autographs, this was autographed right about the time this card was produced.
Isn't that amazing how like sometimes you'll luck out and you'll get an auto before they get like kind of plugged into like the autograph machine.
Yeah.
You know, where they're just like sitting there and like scribbling for like 3 hours, or I don't know how long they do. Sometimes they probably do it like for a full day or whatever, and they get paid like $10,000, or I don't know how it works, but you know, it probably depends on like how popular the player is, right? How much they get paid at the end of the day. But they're sitting there and they're just kind of mechanically going through the motions versus like, you know, maybe in a smaller show, or who knows, maybe even like a personal interaction. They're just like, hey, you know, they're taking their time earlier in their career, where there's, or like in that case, maybe they're like plugged into the, like if that was like from the mid 80s, that was before like the big hoopla of like 89 Upper Deck, and then everything kind of goes off nuclear, you know? So.
Well, I mean, my daughter had several friends at UNC that went on to, they're in the pipeline right now playing ball. One of them's in the Tampa Bay Rays. He started out in the Orioles, and he said, you know, the first summer when he got home, his first time home, he had 15,000 labels to sign from Panini.
Yeah,
that makes sense. He had a week 15,000 labels, dude. And he said, honestly, by the time I got to my last sheets, he said, I don't know how my autograph looked. He goes, I can't even remember. It was probably half of what the first ones looked like. But, you know, I mean, holy cow. How do you think about the number of autographs these guys sign in a year just for the card market?
Now you know why some guys literally just go like that, you know? They're literally just taking like 2 seconds to throw some kind of scribble on the
James
card.
Wood, Roman Anthony's.
It's like it's great. Well, Roman Anthony's, I've seen his sig. His sig's pretty cool looking.
There are 3 different iterations of his signature. One is an R and an A. Yeah, look at the variety of his signatures, man. He's got all kinds of different signatures out there. Authentication in the future going to be a disaster for his stuff.
Yeah, man, I've seen sigs of his that look really amazing. Like it's like you could tell he really like sat there and he was like in cursive class or whatever. You know, that's crazy, man. Well, the last card I got for you guys. Oh wait, so did you do 3 yet?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay, you did 3. Okay, I just want to make sure. I don't want to jump on jump too far ahead. Last card I brought today was this because I like these state of the arts. I think they're cool, and I think that these really kind of fly under the radar. Like you don't really see them that often. They're not numbered, but they're like an orange variation of the state of the arts, and I do tend to hold on to these when I find them. I just think they look way better to me than the standard ones. For sure. I think they pop. I really think that these pop really well. They're like, I call them oil slick cards. I don't know. I like them. I think they're well designed. They're super popular. So
these are the Leaf ones, right?
Yeah. No. This is Panini. This is Zenith.
The Zenith state of the art. Okay. I was thinking about the home state or home. whatever that leaf set is. It has the state flags and that kind of stuff. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's cool too. They do college. Panini does college ones too. The college ones are dope too. Some of those are case hits actually. But the football ones, the NFL ones are not case hits. I don't think that's a case hit. I think that's just like a insert version of it. But I think they do look really nice. I a lot of times, like the stuff that's in my PC, it's not the most valuable stuff. It's just stuff that I think looks cool, you know?
Yeah, the sets that Tiff and I collect every year are Allen and Ginner and the Topps Holiday, the two sets that are arguably worth the least of any card sets released every year. You know, but I like the artwork and we like the designs and that kind of stuff. So that's what we do. We
collect what we collect because we like it, right? I think that's great.
Mean, you ought to collect because you enjoy it, right? It's the hobby.
Exactly. That's our like parting message to everybody today is collect what you like. We're all about the joy of the hobby. I did want to say like thank you so much. We've had some really great people here in the chat hanging out with us. I do want to give like one last shout out for our Patreon. If you want to support the show, there's a few ways you can do it. First off, you can like and subscribe. And also click on the notification button to know when we're going live. We do go live the same time every week, but if you want the notification, definitely hit that bell to let you know when we're going live, actually, if you enable notifications for YouTube. And then the other thing is we do have a Patreon, which it's growing. We're getting to the point where like we're about a third of the way where we need to be before we start rolling out some pretty cool member perks. We're going to start doing a monthly the first thing we want to do is once we hit 10 members in our Patreon is to do a monthly giveaway show, which would be really fun. And we'd love to just like give you some cards but the whole idea is we're not trying to make a bunch of money with this. We're trying to just be able to be self-sustaining. And if we hit 10 Patreon subscribers, we'd be able to pay for the StreamYard platform, which we stream from. And then we're at least breaking even and being able to bring you content every week. So if you like what we're doing, we'd really appreciate your support if you're not already a member.
And then we would like to take what we're currently putting into the Patreon and put it back into you.
Yes. That's the whole thing is we want to just get self-supporting with this thing so we can continue to build it and just have fun and build a community here who are like-minded, joy-oriented collectors who, you know, some of us are selling, some of us, I'm sure, who are tuning in are just collectors, and that's cool. You're all welcome too. Can you tell us what the number is that is needed for us to be able to host this every month? It's like $50 is what we pay for the platform every month. So, you know, that's our that's kind of our expense that we have to pay. So that was our first goal. It's like, what's the first goal we could hit that would feel good and help us to be self-sustaining and continue to build this thing. We're trying to make this a little bit better every time. And we also love anybody's feedback on how we can make the show better. Just hit us up, comments, drop comments. If you have comments, we do read the comments and we try to reply back to as many of them as we can. So that's our first goal. Anyways, we'll be back again next Wednesday is the plan. So, we're looking forward to, we'll dive into another, cool segment. We had a guest plan for today. Maybe, who knows, maybe we'll be able to bring them in next week.
You should be here next week. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So we got lots of we'll be bringing in guests. We'll be, talking about different topics that might be of interest to you. And, we're really looking forward to the next episode, but thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate you guys. And, we'll see you next time. Let's get the go out music rolling here. Let's get it going. There we go.
Appreciate you guys. What up, D? Thanks for joining, brother. Love you guys. Have a great week.